Hello, everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where we always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. Coming to you from the Sports Interaction Studio, I'm your host, Nicholas Blaylock.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle. And today, guys, we've got some pretty exciting Kyle Tucker updates. Last night, it was reported that Kyle Tucker visited the Blue Jays Florida complex facility. Now, I know a lot of people, when they hear that, they're going to get flashbacks to Shohei Ohtani. And I'm going to tell you right now, it is exactly like that. The number one free agent on the market has visited the Blue Jays Florida complex facility. We're going to get into what exactly does that mean and where are the Blue Jays right now in terms of the Kyle Tucker market.
Yo, quick question for you. This is just for us. How many comments down below do you think we're going to get saying he's on a plane?
I'm gonna say, now that you say that,
now that I've said it, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I guess.
Over under 14 and a half. I'm actually serious. I mean, even if I wasn't a regular commentator, I would start commenting that.
You know what? Tell you what,
guys.
I will give you my answer at the end of this podcast to not influence what it is that I think is going to happen.
Right.
But honestly, this is exciting. Now, I don't want to go so far to freak out and say that he's on the plane and say he's coming here, because that's not what this means. But when he is going and when he is visiting the facilities of the Toronto Blue Jays, at the very least, the one thing that we know for sure is that he is engaging with Toronto, and Toronto is certainly serious about engaging with him.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. So let's get into it right now. Hit that like button, smash that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. This was the initial report by Robert Murray that yes, he was spotted at the Blue Jays facility. But like you were kind of mentioning, like all that really does confirm for me is that yes, like we are a contender for Kyle Tucker. All those rumors out there, they weren't just rumors for a reason. They were actual facts. Like the Blue Jays coming off a World Series appearance, spending a lot of money, having a big budget to spend. Kyle Tucker being a big free agent. Like, yeah, obviously the Blue Jays would be on there. And then being Kyle Tucker, you know, he actually lives in Florida. And if my contending or this team that wants me is buying for my services, I would go and visit the facility. It'd be negligent of me not to go do that.
It is standard practice, and Ben Nicholson-Smith came out. I don't think that he's necessarily pouring cold water on any of these rumors. He's just giving context for it. He says a visit does indicate that the Blue Jays are genuinely involved with Tucker, but it's also a relatively standard part of recruiting a high-profile free agent and doesn't mean Tucker's anywhere near making a decision. It would be a surprise if Tucker didn't also visit some other rumored suitors, such as the Yankees, Dodgers, or Phillies, as his market develops. Again, standard practice. If you are on the precipice of signing a contract for the next 10 years of your life for hundreds of millions of dollars, obviously, you are going to want to take a look at where it is you're going to be working, right? What is this going to look like? And in fact, I would go so far to assume or expect that if this gets really serious, you might even hear about him flying to Toronto and seeing some of that, which would, of course, then be the plane stream again. I hope that, honestly,
here comes more plane comments.
If that does happen, if he does end up coming to Toronto and taking a look at the Rogers Center and everything, don't report it. Please, no one fucking report it.
I don't want to know
I
about it.
don't want to know.
I don't want to know, man. Unless he literally is about to. Only if he's literally signed. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Then I want to hear about it. But yeah, obviously the Blue Jays, we've talked about this time and time again, where they are in their current market. They've already spent $256 million or committed to this offseason. And then looking at Kyle Tucker, well, how much is he going to get paid? Well, probably around that $400 million mark. You're looking at a guy probably $40 million a year. And when you're looking at the Blue Jays right now, that's going to jump them up in payroll. Now, this is 2026 active payroll. The expected payroll for the Blue Jays is around that 270 mark.
Higher.
So by adding Kyle Tucker, you're looking at 310, which, and if you do all the math with all these other guys, when they all jump up, that's right there with the LA Dodgers.
Yes.
I brought this up in a video room yesterday, like how just kind of crazy that is, that, you know, now the Blue Jays are jumping up in the tiers of the Dodgers and the tiers of the Yankees and the Mets. How crazy is that for you?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a real full circle moment for me, because when we first started doing this podcast, there was a plethora of comments that regularly came in saying Blue Jays will never spend. They never get the guy. They don't do that. Well, I look at this list right here, and they're number 2. So obviously that has changed, and they're now entertaining Kyle Tucker, and they're still going to be entertaining Bo Bichette. So it is very it's a very good place to be. And I'm very happy that Toronto has killed that narrative, put that behind them. They are a team that spends. Now let's take a moment here and talk about why this might make sense for Toronto and why I am actually starting to feel a little bit of excitement right here. Keegan Matheson came out with a great article, as he does, talking about this whole situation. And similarly to Ben Nicholson-Smith, made it very clear off of the top that he lives in Tampa Bay and he's obviously going to want to look into all of these facilities. So doesn't mean a deal is imminent, doesn't mean anything like that. But then took a look at it from the Toronto Blue Jays perspective. Is it crazy for them to be spending all of this money? Sure. But looking over at who's coming off of the books relatively soon. Dalton Varsho, he's going to be a free agent after 2026. Do we sign him back? Do we not? I don't know. Kind of a weird situation with Dalton Varsho. Don't know. I really don't know what I'd value him at right now if I'm the Toronto Blue Jays. Springer.
Probably near the full season,
going to be leaving after this season. Probably not going to be coming back either, right? He's getting
up there,
being an old man
and
now.
you can't expect him to have like a 900 plus OPS, right?
Not every year.
Not every year. Not OPS plus, but just OPS in general over 900. Like you can't expect that at the age that he is. If he does it again, then we'll have that conversation. But as of right now, you're looking at two foundational pillars the Blue Jays have had for a long time, being Dalton Varsho and George Springer leaving after 2026, or right now leaving after 2026. Same conversation we've been having with the starting pitching. You have Kevin Gausman leaving. You just had Chris Bassett leave, right? And then Jose Barrios, question marks surrounding him. So why not go and do what you did back in 2021 by adding George Springer, building that pillar? You could do the same thing with Kyle Tucker in the outfield, and he isn't too half bad defensively either. Like that. So if you lose Dalton Varsho, sure, I do believe Dalton Varsho is a better defender, but Kyle Tucker is a very good one in his own right.
And ultimately, just from an overall wins above replacement, if you're inclined to like that statistic, clearly Kyle Tucker is the way to go. Now, if we want to go a little bit into fantasy land, I put out what the lineup would look like with Kyle Tucker in it. It is fucking awesome, guy. Like, it is actually just stupidly good. Next to everybody's names is their OPS in 2025. So, obviously that will change as time goes on. But if everyone just did what they did last year, maybe not Santander, would love to see a bit more from him. But if everybody just did what they did last year and you put in Kyle Tucker, and it's a pretty easy swap. All I did was take Nathan Lucas out, and then Kyle Tucker goes in. And I'm sorry, Nathan Lucas, but ultimately you would have to lose your spot to Kyle Tucker. That's just how it would go. But that lineup, that top, honestly, top 8 even.
With Ernie Clement.
I mean, it is just so stacked top to bottom. That right there, it was already a World Series caliber lineup. That's a god tier caliber lineup.
I would absolutely agree, and I think Kyle Tucker being in Toronto and being the type of hitter that he is, that is contact first, power is the addition. I think he would thrive absolutely with our hitting coaches and our hitting staff. Look at what the Blue Jays did last year. I mean, you don't need me to tell you. You watch the entire season. I think he would take a step up as well. And then I'm curious to see, not to derail the conversation, a full year from Santander, that lineup will be popping now.
I also, just to jump in there too, from a skill standpoint, that I'm very outspoken about this. Love the stolen base capability that Tucker provides. 25 last year.
Yeah, right there in the 2-hole. Now, I know it's going to be tough when you got Vladdy there and you got some big thumpers. You might not want to do it, but if you're in a situation where you got to go and get second, get a runner in scoring position late in a ball game, you could absolutely do that. Now, kind of getting us back to reality grounding here, what should we expect over the next couple weeks? Because we got winter meetings coming up. I know that we've talked about this on another podcast. Kyle Schwarber probably going to sign first, because when you're looking at the other competitors that Ben Nicholson-Smith brings up, he brings up the Phillies. So they're probably waiting right now, okay, if we can't get Kyle Schwarber back, then we're going to definitely be on the Tucker market. What do you expect right now to happen with the Blue Jays and Kyle Tucker market? Where do you expect him to go right now?
Well, realistically, he just visited Toronto. If he hasn't already visited those other organizations, he is bound to do so. And it would be irresponsible for him to make a decision about his future without doing his due diligence with New York, with LA, with Philadelphia, with whomsoever else is in the market for him. So you might see some reports that Kyle Tucker is on a plane to New York and going to go check out the Yankee Stadium and everything like that. But, similarly to how we're responding to this, take it with a grain of salt. That's a man right now that's about to get generationally wealthy, and he is doing his research on where he's going to spend the remainder of his career. So I expect that to happen, and I think that you're going to hear a lot about that over the winter meetings, because clearly there's going to be a lot of meetings with Kyle Tucker. I think that I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know if he's going to be a winter meeting signing with where we're at right now. Just feels like there's so many conversations that he has to have right now, because he's probably going to have multiple sit-down meetings with Toronto. Probably will transpire over the winter meetings, and will likely have those sit-down meetings with 5 or 6 other squads.
Yeah.
Kyle Schwarber feels like there's a couple less suitors for him. So if he wants to get off the board first, I'm all here for it, because then that just means hopefully Philadelphia gets him back one less individual in this race. But if not, we're pretty clear as to what Kyle Tucker's market will look like.
That's a good point, because a lot of people are in on Kyle Tucker, whereas before, like with Shohei Ohtani, for example, it became very clear, like it was Blue Jays, Dodgers, and it was like those guys were the only suitors during the winter meetings back 2 years ago.
Right.
Whereas right now we're approaching winter meetings, and we
don't really know.
We haven't heard a whole lot of developing, people getting knocked out, offers being thrown at him. All we've heard is he's visited the Blue Jays complex, and that's it. So I expect over the next couple weeks, we're going to see some more news pop up about him visiting, like you said, other teams, and maybe some offers being thrown out there. I think winter meetings are going to be a good time to negotiate, and then I expect probably before Christmas is when he'll probably sign after all those negotiations.
Now, I'll leave Toronto Blue Jays fans with this, and this is why personally I'm feeling relatively optimistic about this whole thing. Going back to that entire payroll by all MLB teams, if you can flash that up for us, a lot of the squads that are up there, a lot of the usual suspects that Toronto loses out to, and I'm talking about LA, I'm talking about the New York Mets, and I'm talking about the New York Yankees. It feels like the level of motivation from them to go and get Kyle Tucker is lesser this year than it has been in the past with Juan Soto, with Shohei Ohtani, with Aaron Judge, with you name it, because they always seemingly get them. It feels like that motivation is less. Reports coming out of the Yankees side of things is they're going to be spending less money. The New York Mets, they just paid $760 million for their outfielder. Are they about to invest another $450 into another one? That feels crazy. And then LA, I mean, listen, I know that LA is capable of anything, but another $400 million contract? That feels ridiculous.
It just doesn't seem possible. And I'll put it simply, it's the Toronto Blue Jays' turn. It's their turn to get the big fish, and everything feels like the stars are aligning. It feels like Kyle Tucker is right there. Now, I'm not guaranteeing it, but I mean, why not? Why not the Blue Jays? Like, what in this? You have all these other. The only thing that's telling me why not is the PTSD. But every other offseason, it's always been okay. Like, everyone always felt like the Juan Soto was going to the Mets. Everyone kind of just felt that. There was no genuine report that he was interested. It was just like, it felt like he was going to the Mets. Same thing with Shohei Ohtani to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
This offseason, total non-bias. Everyone's thinking Blue Jays. Everyone's thinking Blue Jays. Yeah. And then what happens? Eventually goes to Blue Jays. So I'm throwing it out there for good luck for Ross Atkins and the boys. So hopefully we get it across the finish line.
A deal is not imminent.
No.
There's a lot of hoops to jump through here, but still exciting updates nonetheless, and things are panning out, I would argue, the way that Toronto wants them to. Folks, hit that like, smash that subscribe button. Let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. $4 a month to become a YouTube membership. Thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing. And also, it was an undeniable smashing the over on 14.5. I'm thinking it's going to be closer to like 30.
30. Let's see it, chat. Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!